Welcome to Betting Weekly WTA, the women's tennis betting podcast, brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. I'm Rory Jiwani. With me is Nigel Seeley to look ahead to this week's action. We've got a 500 in Guadalajara and a 250 in Sao Paulo. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favourite podcast provider, and follow us on social media. The handle is @BecauseWeWin. And if you like what you hear on our shows, make sure to sign up for our newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at www.bettingweeklystudios.com. Nigel, very much a drop in quality from Flushing Meadows. And this is a strange time of the season. Obviously, the slams are done with. We've still got spots at WTA finals to be decided, but none of the big names are in action this week. Are you thinking generally, is this a time to get stuck in or be a bit more wary when it comes to staking?
Good evening to you, Rory. Obviously, we've been waiting all day for these odds to come out. Obviously, it's always a bit of a slow period after the US Open or any major, really, for the odds to come about. They've finally come around at around about 3:30 Eastern time or 2:30 Eastern time. I'm watching the US Open. They've been delayed because President Trump's turning up, so I'm watching that in one corner of my eye. But really, I mean, it's been a tough season for us anyway. So I would be very, very cautious of the betting. These are tournaments that really statistically there isn't many years of data to go by. You know, one of these tournaments is brand new. One of them we've only got 3 years worth of data, so we can see how players have fared on that kind of basis. But none of these players here that you're looking at have gone deep in the US Open, and a lot of them didn't even play. So it's about an opportunity to win a 250 event, an opportunity to win a 500 event, and you know get opportunity to get some big money for some of these players. So I think motivation is there. I mean, the tournament favourite in one of these tournaments is playing in her home nation, so that's going to be something to inspire her as well. But, you know, I don't think it's one of these tournaments like a week before a major where you look at the 250 and think, do you really want to go in and win that tournament? And you can question the confidence and the effort that's put in from the players. But I think there is, because there's a lot of players here that have got something to play for: home support, ranking points, and the opportunity to win a first major. There's a lot of players who have nothing to play for the long seasons, and we'll probably eradicate them from our way of thinking on the outright market. But yeah, I don't think it's as bad as, you know, other tournaments. You know, it's the 250s or the 500 sandwich between Wimbledon and between the French Open and Wimbledon, for example. I wouldn't be thinking that everyone would be going out for them. And obviously the tournaments before majors, I don't think people are going out for them. But there's a lot to like about some of these players' chances in these tournaments.
Okay, let's get straight into it. Guadalajara in Mexico. Now, this was a 1,000 for a couple of years. And it wasn't the highest quality 1,000 those years, but it was downgraded to a 500 last year when Wuhan returned to the calendar. If we're looking at previous winners, Magdalena Freck beat Olivia Gadecki in last year's final. Maria Sakkari defeated Caroline Dolehide to win the 2023 title. And in 2022, Sakkari was the beaten finalist, with Jessica Pegula claiming the trophy. As far as court speed goes, this is a funny one because Guadalajara is at quite high altitude. It's about 1,500 meters above sea level. So the bigger servers should have some success. And the year before last, the service hold percentage was 69.4, which is very quick. And that was when it was a 1,000. Last year, when it was a 500, the service hold percentage was down to 64.1. So, you know, maybe that was down to the quality of player involved. Maybe it's the weather conditions, not really sure. But, you know, what can we say? It's probably going to play medium, perhaps medium fast. Talking of weather, there's a big issue this week at Guadalajara. The forecast is for rain every day this week. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of interruptions and delays. The temperature will be around 26 Celsius, which is close to 80 Fahrenheit. We don't have much to go on here, Nigel, do we? As you say, 3 years. I'd say there's no real, I don't know. I'm not sure there's an edge. I think if there was a big server, a trustworthy big server in this field, I'd be tempted to back them. But there isn't really.
Well, the first thing we got to, if we're led to believe the weather forecast, and weather forecasts can change quite a bit, it's going to be very hard for them to actually complete this week.
Yeah.
The weather is horrendous. And it's not just rain, it's heavy rain, thunder and lightning. It's sort of over the place. And sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes in the evening. It's sort of scattered showers and heavy showers. But it's a steady downfall every single day. So this might be very, very difficult to complete. So when you look at the market, if you look at the market now from a betting perspective, I think after a major, you get players who are going to come here, maybe a little bit. Some of them after long seasons, I'm tired, and they're going to be affected by the weather as the tournament goes on. So I think you need to be someone with a little bit more bit experience. I think it's going to be very hard for somebody to come in who is very inexperienced and win this tournament in what is going to be very, very testing conditions with the delays, coping yourself with a couple of days when you don't know when you come on court. So I think it's going to be important for them to actually look for someone who's got some kind of experience. If we look at the 3 previous winners that you mentioned there, all of them have been seeded, but in the last 2 years, 2 unseeded players have got to the final. So usually it's a seeded player that wins it. Freck was number 5 seed, Zachary was number 2 seed at the time, and Jessica Pegula was number 3 seed. So seeded players do well. When I look at this draw, the first thing I thought on it was it's a tougher bracket in the top half. I thought the top half looked a little bit more difficult than the bottom half. The bottom half is full of qualifiers. It's full of journey women. And it's full of players who probably wouldn't be used to the quicker conditions. I think the top half is tougher. In the top half, you have more established players. And my first reaction was the value would be in the bottom half.
Okay, so if the quarterfinals go according to the seedings, here's how it's going to turn out. Top seed, Elise Mertens, will play 6th seed, Tatiana Maria. 3rd seed, Yelena Ostapenko, will face Magda Linette, who's seeded 5. In the bottom half, 7th seed, Alicia Parks, will meet the defending champion and 4th seed, Magdalena Freck. And in Q4, 2nd seed, Veronika Kudermetova, will play Camila Osorio. Let's have a look at those outright odds. And you can see that the top seed, Elise Mertens, is the favourite at plus 375. Yelena Ostapenko, $4. Veronika Kudermetova, plus 450. Katerina Siniakova, plus 550. Maria Sakkari, who, of course, former winner and runner-up, plus 850. Defending champion Magdalena Freck, $10. Eva Jovic, the talented youngster, $11. Magda Linette, $12. Kamila Rakimova, $28. Same price as Sloane Stephens, who's got a wild card into this tournament. $30 Camila Osorio, and it's $35 bar those. So, Nigel, you thought there might be some value in the bottom. Who are you thinking of?
Well, if we look at the top half, for argument's sake, I think Sakkari's going to be someone who I thought she played well at the US Open in defeat. Elise Mertens, I think, is a vulnerable number 1 seed. They will be scheduled to play each other in round number 2 if they get that far. Obviously, Mertens has a bye, Ostapenko has a bye, Freck has a bye, and Kudermetova has a bye. Then obviously you've got to play the players who are in that. Marino, the Canadian, Rebecca Marino, I think she's a decent player. I think she's going to be quite difficult. Ostapenko in there as well. And obviously Magdalena. I think that's quite, for a 500 event, I know it's not the greatest of 500 events, but that top half is much more difficult. In the bottom half, we have a lot of qualifiers, like I said. We also have Osorio, who I don't think's going to do anything in these quick conditions. I think she's much more of a clay dog. And then other than that, we don't really have much. Alicia Parks is in that draw, but I wouldn't really fancy her in these kind of quick conditions. Sloane Stephens, not for me. Magdalena Freck, defending champion. A lot of pressure on her shoulders to get the points. But I mean, Jovic is someone I've bet many times, but hasn't just gives me a good run for my money, but doesn't go all the way. And the person I've gone for here, and I mean, I wanted a little bit more than the plus 450. Obviously, I looked at this earlier in the day before the odds come out, but I think Veronika Kudermetova would be my idea of a winner here. I mean, she's had a great run in Cincinnati before the US Open, got to the semi-finals, beat some good players, beat Towson, beat Bencic, beat Lamins 6-1, 6-3, and Lamins obviously took a set off against Iga Swiatek at the US Open. Got beat by Jasmine Paolini in the semi-final, but it was a real close match. She could have won that match. I mean, she had the chance in the final set, but she took the second set in the tiebreak. But she had chances in the final set to do well there. She got beat by Coco Gauff in Montreal, and Emma Navarro in the second round at Wimbledon. So she's only got beaten by players that you would expect her to get beat. She's up to 27 in the world ranking, 25 actually going in the world rankings from 27. She had a really bad first round defeat at the US Open, which I don't think is a bad thing. People might look at people who have a good form at the US Open, but I think you want to be with someone who hasn't really done well at the US Open. If they've gone deep in it, which not many people in this draw have, I don't think that's a positive. I think it's more of a negative because they could be a little bit exhausted travelling over here. So the fact that she's got beat in the first round, she's probably come here, acclimatised, had some rest. She's in form, clearly in form, but I think the Cincinnati run to the semi-finals, getting beat in a tight 3-set and then going to Flushing Meadows in New York, took something out of her. And I think that she would be the way I would go here. I wouldn't bet it as an each-way bet, but I think as a win-only bet, I believe that she's a bet. Veronika Kudermetova here would be my idea of a winner at plus 450 in the bottom half of the draw. I think the bottom half is weaker. The top half is, in my opinion, a bit stronger. In form, nothing really much in it. First round, got us a bye. Second round, 2 qualifiers play each other for the right to play her. Then Jovic or Azaria, she should beat her. Jovic, a great talent, but she hasn't. I've bet her 3 times this season, has let me down. Then she'll play possibly Freck in the semi-final. 3-2 head-to-head, losing record for her, but the 4 of those matches in 2017. So I wouldn't really look too much into that. 8 years ago form. And then she's in the final. So, yeah, compared to Mertens, who's got Zachary, Marino, Siniakova, Ostapenko, much, much more difficult route, much more easier route in the bottom half. I'll go for Kudermetova to win this.
So 1 point win only, or is that the bet?
I thought, well, my confidence is busted at the moment. I'm going to go for just at 1 point. I wanted a bigger price. I mean,
yeah.
I think 450 is probably fair, probably about right price. But I was hoping that we might get $6. But compared to Siniakova at plus 550, compared to Jovic at 11, I think the form she showed at Cincinnati in 1,000 events to reach the final. She's, forget the US Open run. She is the form horse in this tournament. And in the bottom half of the draw, in the conditions, I think she's the most likely to make the final. And in the final, I think if we can get Zachary Ostapenko, I think she'll give her a good match. And then if you're in the final, you can trade a little bit, hedge a little bit of position if you want to. But let's get that far. Let's get to the second round. We're guaranteed second round because she's got a bye. So that's a lot better than some of the tips so far. So if she gets, she gets a bye to the second round, she'll play a qualifier, and then she's into the quarterfinals just by playing the qualifier. So I think plus 450 is a decent bet.
Yeah, I mean, she was on my shortlist. I said, she noted down if she could reproduce what she did in Cincinnati when she reached the semis, she'd win this. And she is, the big server you probably want in these conditions. She's just a bit too inconsistent. I mean, it was good in Cincinnati, and she does have a problem in slams. She's never done well in slams. So, maybe that you could say that, but, I think 450 is a little bit short for my liking. I had similar logic to you. I mean, I've gone for one in both halves. And my logic in the bottom half was Alicia Parks. Similar sort of reasoning. If she does get her serve going, she could do really well here. I mean, she was walloped by Miran Draver at the US Open, a couple of classes above her. But before that, she reached the semis in Monterrey and she beaten Emma Navarro in that run. And her draw isn't difficult. As you've said, that bottom half is quite weak. She's serving well in these conditions. She could go a long way. And so I'm going to go for a 0.5 point each way on Alicia Parks in the bottom half. In the top half, I'm going for a real long shot. And Zachary is a player you have to respect because she's won this tournament and she's reached the final before. But she faces Elsa Giacomo in round 1. And I've been really impressed by Giacomo recently. She had a good run in Cleveland. Then she beat Marie Bauskova in the US Open, then gave Leylah Fernandez a scare. If she beats Zachary, which, we know Zachary's so up and down and inconsistent this season. Yeah, Elise Mertens isn't a frightening opponent by any stretch. She suffered a shock defeat at the US Open. And Giacomo at $125, I just think is a massive price. So I'm going to I'll go half a point each way on her as well. But, and you could have a round one exit there because she is playing Sakkari. But at the price, I just think if she was to beat Sakkari, which she is capable of doing, she's beaten Bauskova, who's far higher in the world rankings. She's higher than Sakkari in the world rankings. She's had some good performances in recent weeks. That price wouldn't be 125. She'd probably be around $25, $30 if she won that open. And then obviously she's got Mertens. It is a tough route, but that's factored into the price. So those are my two picks for Guadalajara. Sao Paulo next, which is a 500. It's the first tournament, as Nigel said. It's replaced Monastir on the schedule, which was obviously the tournament in Tunisia. So I suppose on Jabeur's stock has risen and Beatrice Jabeur's stock has fallen and Haddad Meyer's stock has risen. We've got the swap. But this is the return of the WTA Tour to Sao Paulo. Last time it was there was 2000. And as we mentioned, Beatrice Haddad-Maia, home player. Yeah, this is her hometown. And she's the number one seed. And but to give you an idea, so it's a 250, to give you an idea of the quality here, she's ranked 22 in the world. The second seed is Solana Sierra from Argentina, and she's ranked 74. So there's a big drop-off. No previous tournaments to look at. From qualifying, the courts would appear to be reasonably slow. Now, we talked about the weather in Guadalajara. The weather doesn't look too clever here either, especially from Wednesday onwards. There's a bit of rain about, and it's going to be hot and sticky. It's a touch over 30 Celsius, so that's just below 90 Fahrenheit. If the quarterfinals go according to the seedings, brace yourself, this is how they will be. Beatrice Haddad-Maia will face Renata Zarazua, the Mexican. Ayla Tomljanovic will play Pana Udvardi from Hungary, who just reached the final of the Challenger event in Guadalajara. Leolia Jean-Jean will play Alexandra Ayala, the young Filipina, who beat Udvarda in that Guadalajara final yesterday. And in Q4, Francesca Jones will meet Solana Sierra. So, in terms of names, it's not exactly blessed with them. Let's have a look at the prices because we've got a clear favourite, and rightly so, in Beatrice Haddad-Maia, plus 240. Francesca Jones, $5. I can't understand that price because she's only good on clay. I don't get that price at all. I'm stunned by that price. She should be 3 times that price, 4 times that price. Alexandra Ayala, plus 550. Renata Zarazua, the same price. Ayla Tomljanovic, $9. Janice Chen from Indonesia is $10. Pana Udvardi, $12. Solana Sierra, $12. And it's $28 bar those not exactly household names. Nigel, where do you start here?
Well, the first thing I've got to say is the weather. I mean, in Sao Paulo, in the early part of the week in the 80s, and by the end of the week, it's going to drop down to the mid 60s.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's going to get very, very cold as the week goes on, which I'm not quite sure that will help Haddad-Maia. I think she wanted it hotter. I watched her a couple of times over in New York, and I think she was hitting the ball great. And she has a massive, massive support. The Brazilian fans will come out for this, and she will be very, very, very hard to beat at plus 240. Probably when you're looking at it, if you're breaking it all down, you're probably looking at it, I think that's not a bad price really, about a Brazilian from the hometown with all that support behind her in a tournament where a lot of people aren't going to like it, especially as it gets quite chilly in the latter part of the week. So she's probably a decent bet here. But I think, looking at the draw, there isn't really, again, I think there's a little bit more value in the bottom half of the draw rather than the top half of the draw. I think the bottom half of the draw is slightly weaker. No, not much, but Tomljanovic is another player that I thought played well in her first match against Goff over in the US Open. Player that I think is always capable of doing well at this kind of level of events. She looks like she's in good form, so she could go quite deep. Zarazua obviously beat Madison Keys at the US Open as well, so that's another player who's in form. Mexican likely conditions here. Udvardi is in form as well. He got to the final. So top half to me looks difficult. bottom half of the draw is where I'm going to go. And I'm going to go with that talented youngster, Alexandra Ilia. And I think plus 550 is a big price each way. I don't think there's much in her way of not getting to the final. She opens up against a qualifier again, which we don't know who that is, but you would expect her to be a fairly heavy favourite in that. Then she'll play Julia Reria, the Argentinian, or Dachichenko. Again, she's going to be a really heavy favourite in that match. And then we're into the quarterfinals already. Jean Gen is probably the most likely opponent there. Wouldn't to worry too much about that. And then, by the look of the betting, we've got Francesca Jones. And she's beaten Francesca Jones already this year. They played on once and she beat her before. And also, Ilia is in great form. I mean, she got to the final and won the tournament. She won the tournament, in Guadalajara against Udvardi. And there is a bit of a form guide here because she beat Udvardi in the final when she was a -$3 favourite. And Udvardi played Jones on the way to that final in the quarterfinals, and Jones was -250. So when they had a matchup, Jones was -250, Eolia was -$3, and now Eolia is an outsider against Jones. That's where the market's wrong here. You're right that Jones should be a bigger price. Should be, I wouldn't say 3 times, but I'd say at least double. But Eolia is the one I think who will capitalise on that. And I think she's in great form. She did all right at the US Open. You know, she beat Towson in round 1. Great win on that. Then obviously there's the automatic letdown for a young player after they've won a big round 1 mate. She got beat by Buxa. You know, that was a disappointment, but not a disaster. Obviously at Wimbledon she got beat by Krejcikova, you know, the defending champion, but she pushed her close. At Eastbourne she went all the way to the final, got beat by Maya Joint. She's in form, this girl. And she's going to have a big future. She obviously beat Iga Swiatek earlier in the year over in Miami. Beat Badosa in Miami. That was a walkover, though. Beat Madison Keys in Miami. Ostapenko. Pushed by Swiatek close again in Madrid. She's a player with a real big future. And I think she comes through that bottom half of the draw. I expect Haddad Meyer to get through to the final. But I do think that Ilia, or Ilia, whichever way you want to pronounce it, I think at plus 550 may not be a bet that you would look at and say, I want to bet it each way. But trust me, they are the best bets, those plus 550. Plus 275 to make the final. If you calculate her route in every single match, it's not going to be plus 275. She's got a very, very easy route to that final. And this is a player that I believe is in great form. And this is a young girl going places, 20 years of age, up to 75 in the world rankings, going higher. Want to get his end of the season as high as she possibly can and win a 250 event where a lot of these people probably don't want to win a 250 event. Haddad Meyer, it's a great opportunity for her to win a 250 event in her hometown, in her home country, and I expect her to go deep. But at the bigger price for the each way, Ali is a bigger price to get to the final as Haddad Meyer is to win it, and that's why I'm going to go for Alexandra Ilia each way, 1 point each way at 550 with Bet Rivers for the 250 in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, I see the logic in that. I think Ialia's a good price to reach the final. She's certainly a better price than Francesca Jones. I can't see anyone stopping Haddad Meyer. I mean, I think the biggest challenge would possibly be Renata Zarazua in the quarterfinals, but with the home crowd on her side, I just can't see Haddad Meyer being beaten. I mean, qualifier first up, Laura Pigossi, another Brazilian, or Elizabeth Mandlik in round 2, shouldn't present any problems. Zarazua perhaps in the quarterfinals, but again, if it gets close, I think the crowd will pull Haddad Meyer through. After that, perhaps Tomljanovic, although I can't really see her winning 3 matches in a row. And Udvardi, I just don't think is good enough to get close to Haddad Meyer. And then we're into the final. And again, you know, I think in any situation, Haddad Meyer, and we saw a bit of that in the US Open, you know, when she was challenged and pushed, she produced, you know, was it Soné Cartal in round 1 was all over the place that match, and Haddad Meyer pulled through. And I you know, a 250 where she's 50 spots higher than the next seed, in front of her home fans, I just can't see her being beaten.
Well, I think that's the way. I think you either go for Hademar to win it, or you go for someone each way in the bottom half. And I've gone for someone each way in the bottom half because I think the place money gets me a slightly better return than Beatrice Hademar. Obviously, Hademar's played a lot of tennis. She's coming towards the end of her. She's not an old player at the age of, what is she, 30, I don't know, how old is she?
21 maybe?
29. So she's 29. I mean, she's not the old, but she'd gone deep into US Open. And her form coming into US Open was really bad.
Yeah.
She had a terrible, terrible year. So, and I suppose I think she'd want it hotter. I think she'd want it a little bit hotter. Sort of traditional South American conditions, but 240 does look a generous price. But it's either you want to go with her to win it, or do you want to try and find someone each way in the bottom half of the draw, and that's what I'm going for, the each way part.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go 2 points, Beatrice Haddad-Maia. I'm very confident about that one, and you're going to go 1 point each way, Alexandra Iala.
Yep.
So that is Sao Paulo, and those are our two tournaments of the week, Guadalajara and Sao Paulo. We'll just review our bets from Guadalajara. Who did you go for in Guadalajara, Nigel?
I've just gone for 1 point win, Veronika Kudermetova at plus 450. You could bet it each way, but I think at plus 450, it's a much better win only price. Get to the final, and if you want to hedge, get to the final. Because I think if she gets to the final, I think she'd probably be, I wouldn't like to say if she gets through to the final, but there's a good chance she could start favourite. So
I think she probably would.
Yeah,
I think she would. I mean, you can't see I can't see Ostapenko. She'll probably win it now, but I can't see Ostapenko going very far. Mertens, I think, might struggle. I think if Kudermetova gets to the final, she'd be the favourite. So,
so for that reason, and then obviously Iala each way, 1 point each way at the 550.
Yeah, and my picks in Guadalajara, I've gone for two long shots. Alicia Parks, half a point each way at $35, and Elsa Giacomo, half a point each way at $125. And then in Sao Paulo, I've just gone 2 points win on Beatrice Haddad-Maia at plus 240. So that's us looking ahead to this week. Nigel, you're going to be with, or is there there's no ATP this week, is there?
I'm going to be on a deck chair. I'm going away on holiday tomorrow. I'm going to sit on a deck chair. I'll be back for the Premier League boys on Thursday, looking at the Premier League for the weekend. But that's it for the tennis this week. This is the only show for the tennis offering. No ATP. Only week of the year, the whole of the ATP season where there is no ATP tour. And we come back. We've got 10 days off, I think, because we come back for the Asian swing.
Yeah, indeed. The time difference makes life a little bit more difficult for all of us. But two tournaments in, Central and Southern America for us on the WTA Tour. And so no ATP Tour, but we've got lots of other stuff going on. Of course, we've got the Premier League, as you say, is back. What else? We've got all the US sports as well.
Betting
NFL,
Weekly Live,
NFL.
NFL's back. We've got new shows. The Betting Weekly, The Edge, a new NFL show coming through to you Wednesday and Friday. We've got Hardball, Fast Break, Betting Weekly Live, Betting Weekly Tennis Live. We've got the Dojo, Betting Weekly Saturday Live. Look at the Premier League. It might not be tennis, but the action never stops here on the fastest growing YouTube channel for sports betting.
Absolutely. And if you like what you hear, sign up for our newsletter. You can get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine at www.bettingweeklystudios.com. Nigel, thank you very much as always. Enjoy Greece, is it? Whereabouts in Greece?
Kos, the island. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, I hope the weather's nice for you, Nigel. And we'll see you,
It will be
soon.
a lot better than Guadalajara, put it that way.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you again next week, Nigel, and we'll see you as well again for some more Betting Weekly WTA.